JMU is going to have overlapping head coaches. It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Let's turn this up a little bit. All right. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. All right, we are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one sports podcast network out there. Really appreciate it, and we are having basically another record-setting month. I know that's hard to believe with the coaching changes and JMU in the playoffs. So we appreciate it, and all the Oregon fans tuning in, we appreciate you as well. Apparently, Oregon, at least from two fans that checked in, said Oregon was better last year and will be better next year. And we'll start doing some basketball. South Alabama received some bad news, not unexpected, unfortunately. And the Cajuns are all banged up as well. We'll talk a little Sunbelt basketball. It has been a minute as Sunbelt College Basketball Conference play starts like next week. That's crazy. All right. So JMU today, as it turns out, being Wednesday, recording this Tuesday night, but today, JMU is going to introduce their new head coach, Billy Napier. He's taken over for Bob Chesney. I don't know if Bob is going to be there. I know Bob was heading out to L.A. I don't know for how long. It was at least a day, if not a couple of days, to check things out, do a little media out there. Players are kind of, I did see John Summerall say kind of lifting on their own. I don't know if JMU is doing the same thing Tulane is, as he's down in Florida, taking over Billy Napier. But that's more of the per usual, right? That's more of what the case is, that one coach leaves and the other coach comes in, whether that coach gets fired or gets hired, right? I guess Tulane is in the same boat because John Summerall is going to come home and Will Hall is taking over. Although that's a little bit different because Will Hall's been part of Tulane. That's a little bit different. But basically the same thing. And so now you're going to have Bob Chesney coming back. I don't know if he's going to be at the announcement, but he's certainly going to be back, I would presume, by Thursday, as they prepare for the college playoff. All right. And this is where, if I am Billy Napier, I'm sticking around. Whatever I have to do to get my family ready, get the new coaches ready, work in a smaller office, let Bob finish up, and just see and take advice from Bob on what players he had ready for next year, what players he may be taking with him, who does he like, why does he like them, that sort of thing. And you just don't usually get that from the outgoing head coach. Maybe a retirement, right? So maybe Kalen DeBoer got it from Nick Saban. Of course, you're going to take any and all advice from Nick Saban, but Nick Saban wasn't going anywhere outside of being on TV. He's still got an office there at Bryant-Denny. But Brian Kelly ain't helping out Lane Kiffin. No, right? That's not working out that way. And so it's an odd deal. And oddly, it's strange enough that Tulane is in the same boat as JMU, where you have overlapping coaches. It's a very, I don't even know about a new situation. I just don't think it ever happens. Either one gets fired or one gets hired away. Maybe a retirement, right? Bobby Bowden type of deal. Maybe that type of situation. But very rarely is that the case. Maybe my guy, Jim Boeheim helping out Adrian Autry in basketball in Syracuse. Maybe a little. But in this case, that is such a huge advantage. There's this week and a half for Billy Napier to be around the team just to see who he wants to keep. It may not be the same as Bob Chesney, but he gets to see what works, what doesn't, what players he wants to watch more film of, right? Kind of tough to watch film of 100 players, right? But now he gets to see live practice. Who are the leaders? Who could be the up-and-coming leaders for next year, right? And he can do that with Bob Chesney there. It's not kind of like Nick Saban is going to overshadow you, right? If he's right. And in this case, Kalen DeBoer is doing the coaching, But Bob Chesney is going to be doing the coaching in this case. And I would think that Billy Napier would be doing the observing, and that's about it. We don't want to get in the way of what JMU is doing this year. So I'm just going to stand back and watch. If you ask me a question, I'll answer it. But for the most part, I presume that Billy will just sit back and watch. But it's such a huge advantage to have that because you generally don't, right? When a new coach comes in, unless it's the assistant, like Will Hall in this case, although I think he was an analyst last year, you're kind of coming in blind. You may, read some press clippings, check out the statistics. Maybe you've checked out a little bit of film. But now Billy gets to spend a week and a half with these kids, maybe a little bit less, depending on when they go, at least a week, depending on when they go on, depending when they go out west to Oregon. But again, it's just an odd deal that it just caught me by surprise thinking about it, that you do have two head coaches at the same time. I mean, that really never happens. That really never happens, right? It's this. Tulane's got two head coaches this week. JMU's got two head coaches this week. And so it'll be interesting to see, because that gives you a whole head start for spring ball. It gives you a head start for the portal. Billy can put his staff together. Who's going with Bob? Who wants to stick around? Who's going to bring with him with Gainesville? If anybody, it is a huge advantage to have. I don't know why I want to put it this way: a tutorial of JMU football from the previous successful head coach. Things like that just don't happen, right? Maybe you get a phone call. Maybe you get, I don't know, some quick advice on what boosters you need to talk to, what high schools you want. Maybe you get a 5 or 10 minute call. I don't even know if that happens, right, from an outgoing coach, just to make sure, kind of like the president is supposed to leave a note for the next president. Regardless of party, it's a note, okay? It may be that short. I don't know. But now it's not. We'll find out a lot about this in the press conference a little bit late. I think it's 4:00 Eastern time. So we'll find out all about that during the press conference. Hopefully JMU streams it, or someone streams it live. Hopefully we'll see that with Billy Napier. But we'll get a lot of the questions. How much is Bob? How much are you going to stick around for this week of practice? Are you going to be involved? Who are your assistants going to be? How do you deal with the team this week? He may see I'm here for the press conference and I'm leaving. All right. Hopefully he finds a little time to come on Locked On Sunbelt. Just asking. But after that, maybe he goes, this could be a pipe dream. But if I was the new coach and the new coach said, you want to watch? Sure. Don't say nothing unless asked. But because you don't want two messages, right? Especially for the younger guys who are coming back, right? We're still going to listen to Bob. We don't need to listen to Billy just yet. All right. He can help if they want him to, but I figured he's just gonna watch from above. We're just gonna check it out. That's it. We're just gonna watch what this program's doing, and if he can help out, great. If not, it'd probably just take a lot of notes. That's what I would figure he'd be doing. He's in the phone or on a computer, something like that, just typing away. Maybe even you can record into your phone, whatever you want to do. But that's what I'm interested in hearing about that at this press conference later today. All right. A couple people told me that Oregon was better in 2024, interestingly enough. We'll talk about that right after I tell you about FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. Say, I don't know, Joe Burrow throwing it directly to the Bills twice Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. I will wonder, I was kind of surprised. The Bills are 1.5-point favorites over the Patriots, who won like 10 in a row. And the Bills didn't get beat. They almost got beat. They were on their way to getting beat until they turned it over twice at Cincinnati. So I find that interesting that the Bills are favored while the Patriots are playing relatively well, interestingly. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your teams every day. All right, so I did ask in yesterday's episode, was Oregon better in 24? Because just on paper, they were 13 and they were undefeated and won the Big Ten championship. And then, or no, yeah, they won the Big Ten championship, didn't they? Do I have to check that out again now? Right? Because they only had, yeah, they were undefeated. They were the number 1 seed last year, right? And did they beat? So they beat Michigan? Is that what I'm? No, hold on. Well, maybe they beat. Let me see. Well, they beat Penn State. They beat Penn State. Okay, there you go. 45-37. Good ball game last year. All right. But I will show you, and we did get the, I don't want to say troll because I don't know James, but he's being a little bit of a smart ass when he said this, right? James, he put this in the YouTube. You're about to find the difference on the field. All right. Well, that doesn't help me out because I was trying to figure out what the difference was beforehand. All right. That's what I was trying to do. I need you to tell me what the difference is. All right. So David added, all right, better last year and really good next year. All right. Except do we need to find a quarterback? I mean, isn't Dante Moore coming to the NFL draft? We'll see. Now, Chris, I don't have my glasses. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to read all this. Let's see. Chris did add it. All right. Better health and play overall at the receiver positions last season with a 5th-year quarterback in Dillon Gabriel. All right. This season has a mix and mash of receivers, and at one point started 4 to 6 receivers on the depth chart. Also a breakout from a freshman dynamic duo of running backs who are able to make explosive plays, so they've leaned into the run game more than in years past. All right. And that could have to do with, say, the 21-7 Wisconsin ball game that was apparently in the rain. We're not throwing it. I think someone said Dante Moore left that ball game with a broken nose or an injury, at least a bloody nose. And so they're just trying to run out the clock. All right. So those are things I'm asking. I'm not sitting here telling you I'm an expert on Oregon football. All right. I did watch. I'm not even sure if I watched the entire second half of the Indiana ball game. I certainly saw the end of the game. All right. And that's all I'm asking for because, again, statistically, they're probably not going to be as much off as those stats that I mentioned in yesterday's episode because that's with 14 ball games last year. So far, they've only played 12 this year. So those games are going to be pretty close. They're going to be, Dante Moore, if they win 2 ball games. Well, no, if they beat JMU, that means they're playing 2 more ball games. And so that'll be 14. And, he'll probably be a couple hundred yards less than Dillon Gabriel, right? Running back last year did have like 1,200 yards. That's amazing. Right? So it is a little bit of a different team. And it just pros to show you how good a coach. And I know they get the NIL. I get it with the Phil Knight stuff. I get it. It's the way that it is. All right. If you don't think Texas Tech is part of that deal and Cody Campbell, I don't even know who Joey McGuire is. Where did he come from? All right. I do know where Dan Lanning came from. So And he's just done a great job. Hasn't won a championship yet. Hasn't been a head coach all that long. We've been through that, right? Like there are 3 coaches that are coaching right now that have won a national championship. That's it. That's all, right? It's Kirby, it's Dabo, and Ryan Day. And that's it. Harbaugh's in the NFL. Saban's retired. That's it. And Orgeron's not coaching? No, not anymore. Who was the trick? Let me see here. It was Mac Brown was always the trick question of that one because he was coaching UNC for a while, but he had won the championship with Texas. So he was the kind of the trick question. He was the trick answer in a few years back when there was like 4 coaches, including him and Saban. And it was Mac Brown who was I won't say trick question, but the hard part to the question. So anyways, the point is that Dan Lanning has done a fabulous job. They were the number one seed last year, taken out by Ohio State. And again, we got more people. I don't want to see, Paul Feinbaum going off. I don't want to see these blowouts. Well, neither does Oregon, and they got blown out last year. All right. Paul Feinbaum's Tennessee Volunteers got blown out last year. Someone posted that 9 out of the 11 playoff games were by double digits. Right? I remember I think Tua and company got blown out by was it Tua? By Trevor Lawrence. Blown out. Alabama keeps on coming back to the championship. They got blown out by Clemson. Blowouts happen. Doesn't matter. Doesn't have to be a G5. I was watching the show, the selection show, and you're not supposed to be doing that at Orange Theory, and I can understand that safe. And I was like, I have to do this. I have to watch when this happens, and then while I'm walking, I can tweet out the important part. Although it did take forever. All right, I thought it was really going to take 15, 20 minutes. I don't think we got it until 20 up. All right. But the funny part is I joked, I don't need the phone. And the instructor was like, well, it's a safety issue. I was like, I don't need the phone there to not trip. I can trip all by myself without the phone. So that's just a point to make like that. So yeah, it doesn't have to be a G5 team to get upset by a Power 4 team or not to get upset, to get blown out by. All right. So we'll see. All right. I am really interested, as much as I am interested in that JMU ball game. You give John Summerall a second bite at the apple. I don't think it's going to be 45-10. I really don't. We'll see. It'd be so great if one of these 2 G5 teams won, just to shut these loudmouths up. All right. The big guys made the rules. They screwed them up, and now the little guy finally wins a couple of opportunities. And then you got the Oregon guy who covers Oregon and is pissed that they're playing JMU. Feels like it would be an easy win. I don't know. I don't know what his point is. He said, like, one of the players, was it from the Sun Belt? I'd have to go back and look. Came to Oregon and was 4th on the depth chart. And then I pointed out to him all of these G5 guys that are playing really well, right? Elijah Surratt caught the winning touchdown against Ohio State. Defensive back from Navy broke up what may have been the winning touchdown for Ohio State. Kurt Signetti, straight from the G5, got the number 1 team in the nation, right? And he's like, well, why did they leave? Why did they move up? They all got money. You think that they're going up there just because they think they got a better chance of winning a national championship? If South Alabama offered, well, I don't know. That's an interesting case because that's Belichick. But if they offer Gio Lopez, here's $2.5 million a year. Stick around. You think he's going to Carolina just to go to Carolina? I don't know. Maybe. Obviously, they have more opportunities to get into the playoffs. But if you offer more money, they're sticking around. G5 doesn't have it. So it is interesting on how all of this is coming out. It is. And the G5 is going to end up taking it on the chin. That's probably what's going to happen. Let's admit it. Right? We need to enjoy this. And it'd be great if one of those teams won. Here's the thing. If one of them wins, they're definitely not going to put 2 in next year. That's the problem. It's not that 2 of them are getting blown out. They don't mind the blowouts because they're winning. But if, God forbid, Tulane or JMU pulls off this major upset, I may call Feinbaum show. All right. Let's take a timeout. Let's talk basketball. We need to see where we are in the Sun Belt here as Sun Belt play is opening up next week. Some really bad news for South Alabama, who has been so good early on. We'll talk about that right after I tell you about Rougier. Let's talk about something most men don't bring up, but absolutely should. Stress from work, money, life, it doesn't just switch off at night. And when it shows up at the worst possible time, Rougier Ready is designed to help you take back control. Rougier Ready is a next-generation prescription treatment created to support both the brain and the body so you can feel present, confident, and ready when the moment matters. Rougier Ready combines 3 clinically proven ingredients in 1 mint that dissolves under your tongue so it absorbs fast. The science behind Rougier Ready stands out. 3 clinically proven ingredients in 1 formula designed for both mental and physical readiness. You connect with a board-certified doctor online, and everything ships discreetly to your door. It's easy to understand why over 150,000 men have already made the switch. Most men are ready in about 15 minutes on average, so you can stay present, confident, and in control when the moment is right. If you've been thinking about taking the next step, now's the time. Head to Rougier.com/LockedOnCollege. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnCollege to get 15% off your order for a limited time. Rougier Ready. Feel present, feel confident, feel ready. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sun Belt, your teams every day. All right, we will be, by the way, going back to the first topic, I am off today, so I will be hopefully watching the Sun Belt podcast, or not the Sun Belt podcast, the Freudian slip, the JMU press conference. Hopefully that is available for us to watch. All right, haven't done a whole lot of basketball. We'll go over the standings here in a little bit. We did get some bad news. Craig Stevenson, our buddy from AL.com, great beat writer for South Alabama, tells us that Peyton Law is out for the season with a torn ACL and a meniscus and a sprained MCL. Not great. Landed awkwardly after attempting to block a shot in the first half of a loss at East Tennessee State. He did that He did it yesterday afternoon at 4:15 p.m. That's when Craig reported it. All right. Not fantastic. Law is third on the Jaguars in scoring, almost 13 points a game, 6 rebounds a game. He transferred to South Alabama this year after earning NAIA All-American honors last year at Freed-Hardeman, which he helped to a national championship in 23 and 24. You know, Richie Riley is so good at finding those Division II and NAIA guys. It's amazing how he does that. I mean, they got to the finals of the Sun Belt Conference tournament a couple years ago with just that kind of player. It is mind-boggling how it can happen. We'll see if that's going to affect South Alabama here. I'm not sure they have what their next game is. Let's see here. Their next ball game is against North Texas, and it is on the 14th. Is that Sunday? I feel like that's a Sunday. Then they open up on the 17th against Monroe. They do they're at Monroe and at Texas. So they start off, in fact, how about this? I mean, there's the hashtag always the bright side. Their first 4 Sun Belt games are on the road. They're at Monroe, at Texas State, at the Cajuns, and at Troy. Now, out of those 4 ball games, all right, Monroe is 3-7, Texas State is 6-5, Troy is 6-5, and the Cajuns are 1-9. So Troy's probably better than that record would indicate. I'm not sure about Texas State. Don't think Monroe's very good. And right now, the Cajuns are also pretty much banged up. We got this story from Kevin Foote, our buddy who covers the Cajuns for the Acadiana Advocate. This came out on Monday. UL prospects of ending rough start to season hampered by injury news. The bad news continues for the UL men's basketball team. Quantus White said Louisiana Tech transfer Sean Elkington will miss the entire season with a foot injury. Oklahoma State transfer Jamiron Keller will be reevaluated in 2 weeks to make a determination if he'll return this season. The most optimistic injury projection is Vanderbilt transfer Karis Bilal, that's how we say his name, Bilal, who has the best chance of returning during the softball season, which begins on the 18th for the Cajuns. White says he'll make a decision on Keller in 2 weeks. So unfortunately, no news right now. Hopefully they'll tell me something later on this afternoon, a miracle. So it's not looking like it's very good. All right. So it has been a tough first year for Quantus White and the Cajuns. All right. And if you want to go over these standings, because it is ugly for some of these teams. All right. South Alabama has the best record in the league, if we can find it. They are 8-2. They just had that loss against Tennessee State, all right, or East Tennessee State, and most of their games have been on the road, so that's going to make up for it later on. Same with the Cajuns, or no, same with South Alabama opening up on the road. So they'll have 4 games on the road. They'll be able to make those up later, playing a lot at home. Arkansas State's off to a good start, 7-3. They've had some impressive road wins, actually. And Arkansas State has won 4 in a row. James Madison has all of a sudden won a couple in a row. They're 7-4. Coastal Carolina, maybe a surprising 6-4. Southern Miss is 6-4. Marshall's lost 3 in a row. They almost beat UNC Wilmington. Probably should have beat UNC Wilmington, but they did not. Marshall is 5-4. Georgia Southern, they've won 3 in a row. They're 6-5. Texas State 6-5. Troy 6-5. Remember, they got that win over San Diego State and then should have beaten USC, but they turned the ball over and USC hit a wild 3-pointer to win that ball game. App State 5-5. Old Dominion 3-7. They have not won a ball game on the road. They are 0-7 on the road. I went back. South Alabama has played, I guess they have a neutral site game because they've played 7 ball games so far, 5 on the road, only 2 at home out of those 10. In fact, are we way short? They got, okay. How can they be 3? Oh, I think they went to Florida. I think they played a tournament in Florida. So, yeah, so they have 3. Those got to be road games. So, sorry. So they've played 8 on the road and 2 at home. All right. Monroe is 3-7. They're also 0-5 on the road. Georgia State 1-9. They're 0-6 on the road. They've lost 6 straight. And the Cajuns 1-9. They have lost 8 straight. So it'll be interesting on how. See, this is the stuff that I would love to know, right? Obviously, 3 of the big Cajun transfers not playing. And so I was very fortunate as a broadcaster. Most of the teams that I broadcast from minor league baseball either made the playoffs or won a championship. I mean, I got 5 minor league baseball rings. And so a couple of times they didn't go. And one of the times was the last year of the time I did it in Harrisburg in 2004. And it was clear. And at the time, Eastern League had an odd deal. They didn't have halves. There was no first and second half. It was a whole season. So if you got off to a bad start, you got no shot. Right? Usually minor leagues split it up, mostly because the guys are getting promoted to the good ones. So start again. And so I'm not going to talk about the playoffs when they're 15, 20 games out. And you can't do woe is me every time. You're going to bum out the fans. So I really just concentrated on that ball game. I'm going to make this broadcast the best broadcast I could be, win or lose. And we're not going to comment on how poor the team is playing overall or how well they may be. They got a little bit of a hot streak, whatever. We're just going to concentrate on this ball game. And not how bad the season is gone. I don't know if that's something Quantas White is going to be able to do. Do they get to play some guys that maybe didn't get a chance to play, and maybe they've got better players than they thought, or the other way, and you can replace them after the year. So it is a disappointing start, but boy, those fans wanted Bob Marlin out, and we'll see how many people. I think they said they're playing La Tech this Saturday. Oh, it's at La Tech. And then they're at Southern Miss the next weekend at Monroe. They get it. They get a game, Norfolk State, 12-28. That feels like that's a Sunday. All right. And there's South Alabama on 12-31. That's during the day. That's on Wednesday, New Year's Eve day. Or that's New Year's Eve, but it's during the day. We'll see how many people are that. I just want to see how many people are showing up because they all clamored for a change. They got it. It ain't going well. There's reasons for it. It's not an excuse. There's plenty of reasons for it. But sometimes be careful what you wish for. All right. All right. We will have a reaction to Billy Napier being named JMU coach. We'll get that. We'll get some answers to the questions. Hopefully, we'll see if it pops on. I have not heard back. Obviously, they're very busy over there trying to get in a new coach, have one leave, and get ready for a playoff. So they're, not exactly 8-hour days over there at Harrisonburg. So we'll see if they can squeeze me in. Nonetheless, I have the day off, so I'm going to enjoy that on Wednesday. You enjoy it as well. We'll come back and discuss things more on a Thursday. Really appreciate it. Don't forget about the audio podcast, Apple and Spotify. Leave those comments. I'm the one replying and happy to do so. And everybody's been, for the most part, very pleasant. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. You've been watching Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Have a great Wednesday, everybody. We'll talk to you again on Thursday.